Hey guys, welcome to today's video. I'm Kayla, and today I'm going to be doing a video that is a little bit different. It's my tips for people who are new to auditioning. So when I say auditioning, obviously there are a whole ton of different auditions. You can audition for commercials, for theater, you can do film, television, I don't have any more. There are many different types of auditions you can do, but today I am just going to be talking about theater since that is where most of my experience is in. And I just want to start off by saying this little disclaimer. I have not done a whole ton of theater. I've done a couple of auditions. I haven't been cast in a show that's outside of a camp. I've done a couple camps and classes. I'm not a professional, that's my point. We just thought it was more of my mom's idea than my idea, but I would just share my tips for people who are new. So let's just get right on to the video. So my very first tip for anyone who is new, or just anyone in general, is to always be prepared. So by being prepared, I mean having everything that the people who are doing the audition, so like the theater or whoever, casting director, whatever, having everything that they've asked for. So usually places will have specific things that you need, and usually they're generally the same. But the basics are a headshot, a resume, and an audition piece. So a headshot, I'll show you mine, is just a picture of you. And yes, I realize that we're wearing the same clothes. A headshot is just a picture of you. Some people like to get professionals to take their pictures, which is what we did. So I had these pictures, and also I had different ones, but these are just the two that I picked. But honestly, you don't really need a professional, because this picture of me right here, my recent one, was literally taken on my dad's phone. So a headshot is basically just a picture of you from like your torso up. And I don't know the exact purpose of it, but my understanding is it's just a way for the directors, the casting directors, or whoever is controlling whoever gets cast in the show. It's for them to put a name to a face. So some people prefer to have professional photographers come out and take their pictures, and that's okay. I've done that before. But also what works is you can literally just take a picture on your phone. Whether you prefer to go with a professional photographer or just an iPhone or whatever phone you have, that works fine. All it is just a picture of you. A resume, which is another thing that you're required to do. I'm not gonna show you mine, but a resume is basically just a compilation of all your experience. So mine has my contact information, my height, my weight, like my hair color, eye color, and then some of my clothes sizes. But it also has my experience on it. So, like I said, I haven't been cast in anything outside of like a camp, so I don't really have anything under the experience column, but I do have classes. And that's also an important thing to put on there, because classes are important. Yeah, so I'll have like the camps that I've done, or like the classes that I've taken, or whatever. You can put that on there, along with whatever shows you've been cast in before this. This goes for the headshot too. It's very, very important to make sure that both your headshot and resume are updated. Because so take me for example, I had professional headshots taken, and then I cut my hair. It wouldn't make sense for me to then show up at an audition and present my headshot with long hair, because then that wouldn't make any sense, because I don't look like that anymore. Also, same goes for the resume. If I was in 3 extra shows, if I was in 3 more shows and I didn't put them on my resume, I would literally be shorting myself. So it's just important to make sure that everything is up to date. Now the third thing that I mentioned was an audition piece. And audition pieces can be one of 2 things, or it can be both. An audition song or a monologue. So an audition song is usually from, I guess you could have like a pop song or a rock song or whatever, but I would usually recommend like a song from another show. The one thing that you have to be careful of is not to sing mainstream songs, because then that makes the director go, oh, here we go again. They're singing that song again. Like, Defying Gravity. Great song. Don't sing it in an audition, because one, Wicked is going around right now, at least at this time, going around in my town. And two, because Defying Gravity is such a famous song. Same for Hamilton. Hamilton is very popular. Wouldn't recommend singing a song from that. Or like a vocal coach told me, Cats is now a new movie, so everyone wants to sing songs from that. I would not recommend singing songs from that because, like I said, everyone wants to. So it's just the same as don't be like everyone else. That said, I wouldn't recommend singing a song that's so obscure no one's heard of it. Because then the directors are focusing on what song is this, versus focusing on you. Because you want them to focus on you and your singing versus, oh, I've heard this song a million times, or what song is this? I've never heard this before. So you kind of have to find that sweet spot in between too overused and not used enough. You know what I mean? Like that kind of middle spot. Now, a monologue, a paragraph or so of speech from just a singular character. Like an audition song, I would recommend having this from a theater show. I mean, I guess you could have them from a movie if you really wanted to. As my understanding is, it's just to show the directors your acting abilities. Now, for this, as far as I know, you can either go from 30 seconds to a full 2 minutes. Some places that you can audition at have preferred time limits. So like you might look up audition requirements and it'll say headshot, resume, 1 to 2 minute monologue, for instance. So you have to have a monologue that you can speak that can last 1 minute to 2 minutes. You know what I mean? You can't have a 30-second one because that's not what the requirements say. I guess that kind of follows the rule of the audition songs. You don't want to pick one that everyone's used, and you also don't want to pick one that's from like a play that's like in the back shelf, the top back of the shelf. Like you don't know where it is. You've never heard of that before. You know what I mean? Like something that's sort of pop, that's sort of known, but not in the spotlight, if that makes any sense. My third thing, I wrote it down as a third thing, but it might make more sense to say two, is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. It is so important. Because if you it's like the day before the audition and you haven't practiced your song or monologue or whatever at all, you're not going to do well. You have to practice because it's important. I don't know. It's just because you don't get to hold your song while you're singing for the directors. You don't get to read off of a page when you're reading your monologue. You don't get to do any of that. You have to have it memorized. It not only is having it memorized a requirement, but it's also very helpful. Because once you have something memorized, you can work on things like emotions and facial expressions and stuff like that. Because then you're not worrying about what word or note comes next. You're worrying about your face. Is this song a sad song? Is this song a happy song? Or you can focus on dynamics or whatever. You can focus on other things besides the words and the tune. So the fourth thing I want to talk about is actually doing the auditioning, not the prep and not whatever happens after it. It's the actual audition. So I would recommend that, especially for new people, go into this with an open mind. Because if you go in there thinking, I want this one part, so for Beauty and the Beast, I want to be Belle. Chances are you're not going to get Belle. I'm not trying to break your dreams. It's not even a saying. I'm not trying to ruin your dreams or be rude or whatever, but chances are you're not going to get Belle. Not because people hate you and because they don't want you to be Belle, but because, especially if you're a girl, there are hundreds of girls who are probably auditioning for that one role. And one person gets to be Belle. And so chances are that you will be disappointed. It's okay to be disappointed if you didn't get that role that you really wanted, but you have to be real and say, I probably won't get this role. However, if you go into the audition thinking, I would like to be Belle, but I would be so happy if I got to be ensemble or if I got to be a supporting role or whatever, then you will be, I theoretically you would be less disappointed if you didn't get that role. Now for guys, as far as I've been told, it's not as much of a competition because as far as I've seen, there are more girls in theater than guys. But especially for girls, don't be disappointed. I mean, you can be disappointed if you don't get the role that you want. However, just try to be real with yourself and say, yeah, it's likely that I won't get that role, but it's okay to hope. And then if you do get the role, it's 10 times better. You know what I mean? This is sort of like etiquette. I don't know if this is for auditioning. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but like behavior. And I don't mean to be like, you have to behave, but it's really important to smile. Everyone says that. Like even in choir, even in like rehearsals or whatever, smiling, you hear it all the time, but it's true. If you go in there like with a sour face, then that's like, why is she upset? Why is he upset? Like, what are they thinking about? Versus if you go in smiling, everything's okay. Now, I wouldn't recommend, like, if you're not a person who's like, don't feel like this all the time, you know, be yourself, but smile. I don't know if that made any sense. Also, be kind to everyone. Everyone, from the person you're sitting next to in line waiting for your turn to go on an audition, to the ladies or the men who sign you in, to the directors or the casting directors. Be kind. Say thank you. Because if you are not nice whatsoever, that's not a good thing. And even outside of auditioning, be kind to everyone. Just do it. So one important thing to touch on, messing up. If you mess up when you're singing or you're reading your monologue or whatever, you really just have to keep going. When I did my first audition outside of a camp, I missed like the first couple of bars of my song. And that's okay. I mean, if you mess up, you mess up. And it's ideal to just keep going. But if you really feel like you cannot go on, like you really messed it up, you can say, can we please start over? But I would really, really try to just keep going. Because that's what you have to do in theater anyway. If you mess up a line or if you mess up a song or whatever, you just have to keep going. Because if you're performing, there is no restart. You just gotta keep going, you know what I mean? So if you do mess up, just try and pick back up where you left off. So like if you're like me and you missed a couple bars of your song, just wait for a spot that you know and pick up from there. Or just do your best to kind of jump right back in. After auditions, there is a thing called callbacks. Callbacks are when a director decides that they want to see more from these certain people. Now, I want to explain something. Just because you got a callback, which if you did, that's amazing, congratulations, but just because you got a callback doesn't guarantee you a spot in the show. On the other hand, just because you didn't get a callback doesn't mean you didn't get cast. Does that make sense? That said, I do want to say that if you didn't get a callback, it's likely that you were not cast. I don't want to like hurt your feelings, but that's the truth. There is a small chance, like I said, that you could have been cast and the director just didn't need to see any more from you, but that's honestly not likely. Callbacks can be consisted of many different things. I've only been to one callback in my life. That's outside of a camp or a workshop or whatever. And that was a dance callback. So what I'm gonna explain to you is off of that, which a dance callback. But if you go to one and it's different, I don't know any other way. So for a dance callback, there are some things that you can do. One thing that I would recommend is, especially if it's a dance, so for callbacks, I would recommend, and this for auditioning too, wearing the right clothes. So for auditioning, you can wear whatever you want, but make sure that you're comfortable in it. Because if you're wearing like a super stiff suit or like a super like stiff dress or whatever and you're not comfortable, then that's gonna show. That's not gonna end well. Same for callbacks, especially if it's a dance callback. Make sure that what you're wearing, you're comfortable in. So like when I went to mine, I wore a t-shirt and leggings and my jazz shoes because that's what I was comfortable in. And that's like I can move in it and it works. Especially for dancing, I would recommend having jazz shoes they're just, I don't have mine with me, but jazz shoes are really cool. They're really comfortable, and I love my jazz shoes. I've had them for like 3 years. They're super old, but that's okay. One thing that can happen in a callback is something called cold reading. So this can also happen at auditions. I've had that happen to me before, but cold reading is when you're handed a scene from the show and asked to read it. You've never seen it before, you haven't planned it or practiced it, you just have to read it the best you can. And usually they may give you a minute to like read through it and be like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, but you just gotta try your best. And that's also part of theater, just like going with the flow, doing your best and seeing where it gets you. That's literally the essence of theater, is going with the flow, doing your best. Here's the million-dollar question. Did you get cast? You can find out if you got cast in a number of ways. They might email you, call you, they could, I've never had that happen to me before. I've had an email tell me that I've gotten a call back and like I've asked questions, but I've never gotten a call. I don't know if you can do that. But you can also, what I've had experience with is the company posts their cast list on the website. So if you did get cast, congratulations, that's amazing. Go do your best with the show and have so much fun. But if you didn't get cast, I'm sorry. One thing you have to keep in mind though is, like I said, there's a lot of people auditioning for this. So if you didn't get cast, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be like, man, I really wanted to be in that show. But don't let it drag you down or ruin your day. Because you know what? Like my mom says, you're gonna hear a whole ton of no's before you hear that one yes. And you know what? That makes that one yes so much better, because it makes you realize, it makes that work so worth it. So the last thing I have to say is, what now? You've either gotten cast, you didn't, now what do I do? Here's the answer. Do it all over again. Whoa. So I know that seems like a whole ton of work, but honestly, that's what theater is. Theater is a lot of work, and you have to be willing to do that work. So whether you got cast or you didn't, just go for it again. And just because you did or you didn't get cast in the previous show doesn't mean that you won't in this one. So if I didn't get cast in this previous show, that doesn't mean that when I audition again, they won't like me. Or just, and same goes for if you did get cast. If you did get cast in this last show, that doesn't mean you're gonna go again and audition and you're not, and you are. I don't know if that made any sense. But just because something happened last time doesn't mean it's gonna happen again this time. You just have to keep trying until you get that one yes. And like I said, it'll be so much better. Okay, we are done. I'm sorry that was a lot of information at once, but hopefully it helped any of you who are wanting to audition or have auditioned already or whatever. I know a lot of it was cliche or that you've heard it a lot, but a lot of it is true. Make sure to like this video also and hit the notification bell right next to the subscribe button to get notifications whenever Emma and I upload any new videos. So thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye! To start this video by saying, no matter how many times I fix my glasses, they're crooked. But yeah, there are whole different types. There are a whole different... I'm standing, so we have our glass door over there, and she's gone. Whole ton of theater. My mom just shut me out. And this goes for the resume. This goes for the preparation is the word. So once you've found, makes all that work so much worth it. So much worth it? That's not even grammar. So worth it. That's how you say it.